Welcome, girls, to Braveheart Talks. If it's your first time tuning in today, then a warm welcome. I'm Megan. I'm joined with Pastor Emma, who's the founder of Braveheart, and we have these conversations because we do conference once a year in May, but that's too long to talk to you. So we bring these Braveheart Talks to you just to bless you, just to have some conversations so you guys can sit in with us. But hey, today's episode, we're going to talk about this idea of honor.
That's right.
I'm excited. Before we get there, Emma, it's nearly Christmas. What is your Christmas movie go-to?
My Christmas movie, my go-to Christmas movie.
I'm a holiday kind of girl. I really feel like they should have brought a Holiday 2 out because it ended in a way where you're like, yeah, but how did you keep that relationship up? Like, they should have brought a Holiday 2 out.
Oh, yeah.
Still need to do that.
I love Jack Frost.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Is it called Jack Frost?
I don't know. I've never seen it, if it is.
It's the one with... I've forgotten the name of the movie and I've forgotten the name of the...
It sounds like a great Christmas movie.
With the dad...
What's the storyline?
The dad dies but comes back as a snowman.
No, never seen it. I'm going to watch it this Christmas.
What's that movie called?
Maybe Jack... It probably is that. Sounds right. If girls, if she's saying
Can
it
you
wrong,
just message in and tell me what the movie's called, please? But everybody knows the dad.
Ollie's
the dad dies and he comes back as a snowman, totally fictional, of course. But it's just a very emotional, great movie.
Well, my girls are into The Grinch, but Netflix leave The Grinch up all year. So it's not a Christmas movie. It's just an all year round movie. So we sometimes have The Grinch on in summer. Which
love it.
It's mad. But let's get into this conversation today. It's all about honor. And for some of those listeners thinking, honor, that's a bit of an old word to use, but it's in the Bible a lot. So
yes, it
what
is.
comes to your mind, Emma, when you hear that word honor? Or do you think it's important now, even though we don't necessarily use it much in society?
Yeah. So honor to me is respect. And it's definitely is something that the couple of weeks ago we talked about generations, right?
Yeah.
And so it's definitely something that we have lost. We've lost I'd call it the art of honor.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think it's very important because it's just being respectful and showing respect. And I think actually if we lose the ability to honor and we lose the ability to respect, we lose the ability to learn because actually we learn from those that we respect.
Yeah.
We learn from those that we look up to. And so we absolutely will cap ourselves if we do not progress in the area of being able to honor those around us or those above us.
And I'm glad you said that because I've already learned from that, because what used to come to my mind, and you might be able to add to this, is I used to think honor was very much was encouragement. So what would you say that there is a bit of encouragement in it, but it's more along the lines of respect?
Yeah, so I think honor can be given in different ways. Yeah. Okay. So honor is words of edification.
Yeah.
It is respect. If you think about, you remember the book on the 5 love languages, there's 5 love languages, there's 5 different ways that according to, or depending on what personality you have, are the ways that you receive love. Some people receive love by words of affirmation. Yeah. So you can honor by just speaking it out over people, just affirming them, just say something kind, something good, something positive, something encouraging. Yeah. You could honor someone by giving them a gift. Yes. Some people like to receive gifts, and it doesn't have to be an expensive gift. It could just be a bunch of flowers. It could just be buy them a coffee. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There are just different ways that we are able to, we have phones now. Yeah. We can think in the day about someone and just honor them by sending them a message on their phone, thinking about you today. I just want to say, hey, I think you're amazing because, or thank you for doing this because, so I think honor is really important.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, it is a bit counterintuitive, like we said, to maybe to have that spirit of honor. And sometimes, you look around and you're going, where is the honor? Or, we've lost almost that honor. So you kind of mentioned it a little bit there, like how we could practice that, but how can we just more adopt that culture, because it is a culture to adopt.
Yeah.
And like from personal experience, I learn a lot about this by observation. So I'll see how someone honors someone else.
Yes.
And that kind of makes me think, oh, that's that I don't do that. That's really that's encouraged me. So how do we more so adopt this habit or this, culture of honor?
You are right. Honor is very countercultural to today's society, because we are very feelings based. So we live out of doing what we feel, and naturally we don't feel like honoring. It's not an instinct. It's not something that comes automatically to us. So actually honor is a practice that we have to put into place. I call it a discipline. Like, discipline yourself to honor, because I think this is really important to understand. Honor, it's not about the person you're honoring. Honor speaks more about you who are honoring than the person you are honoring. It talks about the type of person that you are. And I would want to be known as an honoring person. And so it's really important, because, it's in 1 Peter 2, it talks about how we are to honor everyone. Now, that really blew my mind when I first read that, because I don't mind honouring people that I think deserve it.
Yeah, we're honoured too.
But actually it says that we are to honour everyone. And that is such a going above and beyond. And that is why I'm making the point that honouring talks more about you than who you're honouring. So even if you don't think somebody is worthy of your kindness, or worthy of a word of affirmation, or worthy of a good deed from you, you do it and you behave and you act that way because it's building character in you and it's speaking about you. It's not about whether they deserve it or not. The Bible is very clear. You are to be honouring to everyone.
And let me dive into what you said then a little bit, because I think that was a real, we've only just started this podcast and already it's whoa, we've gone there.
We've gone deep.
That was quite a lot to take in, the fact that we are to honour everyone. I don't, even that kind of reminded me, naturally I think of honouring, those who, are worthy of honour, or honouring your leaders, or honouring your mother and father, but to honour everyone.
Yeah.
How do people do, how do girls honour someone who does it? They haven't, we use words of affirmation, but how can we do that? Is there a different way we can honour with someone we don't feel like
honouring?
Yeah, what can we do in that?
It's about how you conduct yourself as an individual. So we go through life and we respond and react. And I actually think that we react more than we respond. We can choose our responses, but our reactions are automatically, you've said this to me and I'm going to bounce back with a reply. You've been that way to me, so I'm not inviting you to the party. I'm doing this thing, but I find you awkward and difficult, so I'm going to exclude you from the thing. And so that is how we react. But actually, we get to choose. I cannot choose what people say about me. I cannot choose how they are with me, what they think about me. I can't choose. You look at a church of our size, and I'm sure I'm not everybody's flavour every month. And you cannot control the way other people think, act, or feel towards you, but you can choose your response. So I have to decide, what kind of a person do I want to be known for? And I want to be known as being gracious. That word gracious, it's where you're putting grace between you and them. And I'm going to see you through the lens of grace. So though you may have been rude and abrasive towards me, I choose to look at you through the lens of grace that says, I dislike what you've done, but I'm not going to dislike who you are. And so because I don't dislike who you are, then you're still worthy of honour. And that honour, we're not talking about going over the top, but we're just talking about I'm going to still speak well of you. I'm still going to be kind towards you. I'm going to be honoring of you. You know, if that means you haven't got a seat at the table, I'm going to stand up and let you have a seat at the table. I'm going to be respectful of you. I might not like what you do some of the time. I might not like what you say a lot of the time, but I'm going to choose to like the person that God has made you.
Yeah.
So,
and even when you were saying that, I was thinking like it could be as simple as, you know, say you're in a busy environment. So we do church on a Sunday. It's a busy, like we have a busy foyer, but even acknowledging someone and having a conversation with someone is respecting someone, because you're not, you know, disrespecting someone could be like ignoring them or choosing not to speak to them, but even having a conversation, that's honoring.
it's
that's
respectful.
It's respectful to have a conversation.
Be present in the moment.
Yeah.
So there's nothing worse than
Being on your phone when
honestly, it's like you're trying to have a conversation with someone and they are on their phone looking at something on their phone while you're trying to talk to them.
I got convicted by this. Even my 3-year-old the other day said to me, "Mummy, put your phone down, I'm talking to you." I was like, "Oops, okay, sorry."
Yeah. Or when you're in a busy environment and you grab someone and you're trying to have a conversation with them, but their eyes are everywhere because they're looking past you to see who else in the room there is to talk to, and that's dishonoring.
Yeah.
And so really it's being respectful of other people, treating everyone as an equal, not putting yourself ahead, not treating somebody else as being below your standard. It's like society might put us in a pecking order, but spiritually speaking, we've got to be just mindful and respectful of one another at all times.
Yeah, and to carry on this conversation, but more so specifically into leaders, because it does say in the Bible that we are to honor our leaders. So let's talk about that, because a lot of times I think society, I hear a lot of my work colleagues, like we like to have a good moan about leaders in society. It might be leaders in your work, so your bosses, or it might be leaders in parliament, or you know, politicians. Like people like to have a good moan in that, but we are called to honor our leaders. So how do we do that if we don't agree with their decisions?
Yeah, that's really interesting question, isn't it? Because you are right. It goes from the church to the workplace to, you know, to governmental positions. And we're not going to agree with people all of the time. First of all, I would say things like, you know, a person is in a place of leadership, usually because they've earned the right to be there.
Yeah.
So they've either studied hard and qualified, or there's been something within their character, or there's been a reason that they're in that position and you are not. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah. And so that's true. I think we have to, again, a little bit like the question before, when I'm going to respect the position you carry, even though I might not agree with the choice that you've made. I always remember my kids when they were at school, and, you know, they'd come home from school and they'd be like, "Mrs. So-and-so put me in detention because she said da 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 and I didn't do da da da," and it was drama. And I always remember I used to shut them down and I would say to them, "Hey, listen, it doesn't matter whether you think she's wrong or right. She's the teacher. Do as she says." Yeah. You love that because you're a teacher.
I know. All your parents tell your teachers that. Your kids.
But that's because I think that, you know, it's about, I'm not going to agree with you against your teacher. Number one, because I was not in the room or wasn't in the environment. And so what I'm saying to them is like, look, respect the authority, respect the office that person is sitting in. She's a teacher for a reason. Every single one of us are human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to get things wrong. We can't argue everything to the ground. Pick and choose your battles. Sometimes you've just got to say, I respect that authority that you're in. And I do think we are losing the art of, you know, I look, when I was a kid, I would fear a policeman. If I saw a policeman, I'd freeze. I'd be like, going to be very good, you know, but kids today don't. there's no level of respect there. And so,
and you do see that in schools, like as a teacher, you do.
When you
like,
lose respect, there's no, like, I wouldn't backchat my teacher and I wouldn't stand up to the policeman. But now, you know, there's this confidence, and this confidence comes from a place of no boundaries. And the no boundaries comes from a place of having a culture of no honor. And so we think everybody is equal, but actually people are positional in our life, and that is for a reason. And so I would say, unless it's sin, out and out sin, you know, the Bible talks about if you are in disagreement with someone, then we have to do what we call go Matthew 18 on them. And Matthew 18 talks about go to that person in love and talk about the thing that you're offended about. And, you know, if you have to take somebody else with you, then go with them and talk it through. If you can't work it out, go your separate ways. So I would say if you are in a church and you are in disagreement with those who are in the pastor or the elders or the leaders who are in authority over the church, and you need to go and have a conversation with them. But if that still can't be resolved, maybe you need another church. You know, the same in your workplace. It's like your boss is always going to make decisions that you are not always going to like. And so you can either grumble and complain about him in the background, but that's very dishonoring, okay? Or you can just go with his decision, even though it might be not what you choose, and be respectful to the authority he carries or he or she carries, unless it's sin. If they're asking you to do something that's going to cook the books and do something unlawful, all right, get out, find another job. The same in relationships. Unless it's sin, work it out, be respectful. You don't like what they've said, but you like and respect the position they carry. But if it's sin, get out.
And when you were speaking then, it got me mind going somewhere that we had this conversation a little while ago, and it was about, let's talk more about sort of in the church and having leaders that you honor in the church. So I think this is more to a point for the younger people, because they're maybe not as good at it as it. We were laughing at how, because you're very friendly with a lot of the people in church you serve, the young ones. So the banter that you might have in some places, they then think it's appropriate to have that, you know, bring it elsewhere. And I think, you know, I think it'd be good to talk on that quickly, because I think I've learned that, like, I'm friends with you, we do life together, so we have a friendship, but you're also my pastor, and I have to have that spirit of honor towards you. So in some environments I will not speak to you know how I would maybe, and it's having that discernment. I think some young people have, you know, they lose that discernment where it comes to like where to give honor and
where
when
the line
to,
is.
So let's speak
that's
about
really that. That's a great point to talk about. And so we will use the church as an example, but this goes across the board as well. I think there is a personal life and a public life. And there are certain people, of course, as we go through life, that become more than just a friend. They'll become a close friend, and then they get to see a lot of your personal life. But they have to know, and it goes for every single one of us, it's not always that you've got to know your environment. It's not always right. And so, you are right. It can be an honoring or a dishonoring thing. And so, you know, even like I'll use my own children, for example, only because they're all boys and they probably will never listen to this podcast. But they have had to grow in an environment at home where they have to understand that when we're in the environment of church, right, and they had to learn this from a very young age, that we become the pastors. And so they can't just be, as we have a lot of banter in our house and a lot, you know, we're not just mum and dad. You can't just be cheeky to us in public. I think that any parent would say that about their children, but I'm just giving an example. They had to learn that would be disrespectful, and you have to honor the position we're stepping into. It's not that we have different heads, a pastor head that we put on and take off. We are who we are all of the time. But even you and I, we go to the gym a couple of times a week, right? You see me at my worst. You see me hopping around the changing room, trying to get back into my pants. You see me with my hair scragged up without my makeup on. We can laugh about things together. But if you started to talk around the church about me in the changing rooms, like, I would find that quite offensive. But you don't, because you're mindful of who she is in this house is a pastor, and most people don't get to see her in the light that I get to see her. And so we become respectful of each other's offices, if you like, and the platforms we get to stand on and the positions that we carry, we don't carry them lightly. And so we respect one another. I also understand that you and your husband, you're our young adults leaders. So I could never disrespect you in a room or make jokes about you or just talk down about you in a room of young adults, because you're their leader. And they need to see you as a leader. So I have to do everything I can do to esteem you and to build you up and to encourage you in front of that audience. And I think it's a really ugly thing when we don't understand where our lines are.
Because I think for a lot of girls listening, like, it's more common now to be, you could have your boss could be like younger than you. Your boss could be your old friend who you really pally with. Or say you're in ministry in churches and, you've got your new leader of, something is, again, she was your friend, or, they're younger than you. Things like that. That can sometimes, I think people who don't honour, you can see that in that. And I think it's having that understanding of like, this is my friend, but when we're in this environment, she's my leader and I'm going to speak to her as in she's my leader. So I think that's great.
And just on saying that as well, that's exactly when we established the church, we were 10 friends.
Yeah.
There was no rank. There was no pecking order. Yeah. We were 10 friends. Luke and I had a vision about starting a church, and 10 of our friends jumped on. Mm-hmm. And we all had to take on different roles of responsibilities. And what I love most about that group of people is they honoured Luke and I. Yeah. They respected us. They allowed us to grow into our roles. I look back on that season and it makes me laugh and it makes me cringe, because I just think you must have been so gracious with us, because we really didn't know how to lead and we didn't know what we were doing. And they were so honouring and respectful that they allowed us to become who we've become and who we still are becoming. And I would love to see that, echoed across the church worldwide, where we don't just judge somebody for who they are today, but, when we took you on as YA leaders, young adults leaders.
Didn't know what I was doing.
You'd never led a young adults thing in your life. But we honoured you and we respected that role that you'd taken on, because we believe in you and believe that you're going to flourish into. We didn't go away and talk about, Megan again, and oh heck, what we're going to do with Megan. It was like, no, Megan will be great. Megan's going to come good. And so we speaking on is important.
I love that. And just the turn I was reading when I was preparing for this, I was reading in Matthew 13 and reports on how Jesus went back to his hometown in Nazareth, and he taught in the temple there. But that was the worst response he had from people, and they responded very dishonoring of him. And he followed up by saying this. He said, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own country and in his own house." Now that was a challenging statement that he's saying, but actually it got me thinking that can still be true for now. Like, he's basically saying those in your own home or your own society or the closest to you, sometimes that's where you're not receiving that honor. So why do you think for some people that they can honor maybe their bosses at work, they just flip it, but when they go home, they can't honor their husbands, or, they can't edify all their closest friends. They find it hard to actually speak that honor and spirit over. So
I think that's because we struggle to give credit, honor, respect, edification to those we are closest to for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is because we see the real person through and through. So, for example, when Jesus went back to that town, it was the town he grew in. They knew him as a boy. They knew him as the carpenter's son. They knew him as the job he worked. They knew him from the classroom. And so all of a sudden in their heads, they're like, who do you think you are? Like, what do you mean, son of God? Like, who do you think you are? And so they were very like, we're not even going to entertain what you've got to say because we know you as just Jesus. And that still happens today. And it's familiarity. And actually, familiarity can be like a spirit. Familiarity can be really destructive because you stop seeing what you potentially is there. You stop seeing what God wants you to see in a person, something that could actually be beneficial to your own life, because familiarity just makes you become like, who do you think you are? And so, you know, that's the biggest reason that I think that we struggle with those who are closest to us. It's because we see them in their real flesh. We see them on their bad days and on their worst days and their ugly days. And we all have them, Megan. We see everything that they don't do. Let's talk about marriage, for example. Like, it's really, you know, when girls get together, if we're going to talk about our husbands, we naturally talk down and we naturally have a laugh at their expense. We talk pretty negatively. We'll tell each other, like, you know, I want him to do and he doesn't do, and we go on these things. And actually, to flip that is not something that comes naturally to us. It's a decision that we have to make, that I am going to actually speak out. You know, it's like if he empties the dishwasher, right? Then all you can see is, but you didn't put the laundry in. Why didn't you put the laundry in? And sometimes we just need to go back and celebrate the small wins. That's what honor is. It's just celebrating the small wins. Just thank you. Thank you. Thank you that you did that. Thank you that you thought of me. Thank you for, you know, the small things, or telling that person the good you do see in them.
And just to add to that, Emma, about marriage, a while ago, I realised that I was like, gosh, we do have that naturally just want to, you know, have a laugh or put them down or whatever. And we had a few couples round for dinner, and they're probably going to listen to this and laugh. And I do it to many couples who come around, but we do this funny thing where I'll be like, right, guys, we're going to spend a few minutes now and you're all going to take it in turns to say something you love about your partner, and we have to go around, and they're all like, I hate you, Megan. But at the end of the night, they love it because they're part, you know, I think giving honour is one thing, but doing it publicly, like to other people,
amazing.
Like what it does for
amazing.
People, like to hear something about you from your partner that's honouring,
it's
like
incredible.
It really does something to you.
Incredible.
So if you come around for dinner next time, we'll do that.
And you know what? I say this all the time to any of our young guys in church, to any of our young marrieds, to anyone who's dating. If you are going to send your girlfriend or your wife flowers, make sure you send them to her place of work. Don't be sending them to her at home, in private, in quiet. You send them loud and proud.
If you want to tell Nathan that, I'll give you the thanks
Nathan
when it happens.
Rutledge, you send those flowers to her place of work, because there is nothing that will build and esteem somebody up like public honour. And that's all that is. It's public honour. It's, my husband is telling me that I am worth something. But he did it in front of my friends, and it's great. But you know what, girls? We can do something similar, the same. You can
send him some beers.
Shove a note in his work box. You can shove a, you know, put something, send him a text during the day.
Send him a text. I'm trying to do that. I'm getting there. But I think as we sort of end this conversation, you know, we're talking, you mentioned this at the beginning, how giving honour does more for you than maybe necessarily the person you're honouring. So, you know, I feel like when you honour, we can reference it to how, you know, you're planting seeds. You're sowing seeds. So what can we expect to reap when we sow seeds of honour? Like, what does God say that might, you know, what's in it for us when we
the law of sowing and reaping says you only ever get back what you put in. So you can't plant an apple seed and be praying to grow an orange tree. It's never going to happen, no matter how hard you pray, because the law of sowing and reaping is whatever you sow out is what you're going to reap back. And so we see this across the board in life. Genuinely, I have no friends. No one wants to be my friend. Well, you go and be a friend to somebody. No one invites me to their house for dinner. You invite somebody for dinner. Go and find someone and ask them out for coffee. Whatever you sow, that is what you will reap back. So if you can discipline yourself to have a culture and a language of honor, then guess what? You're going to get back into your life people who respect you, who honor you, who talk well of you, despite your mistakes and your shortcomings and your flaws. People are going to talk and edify you, and they're going to speak so well of you. Why? Because that's the type of person you are. You give it out. It says so much about who you are when your language is not tearing down and destructive and fault finding. We're so critical. We are so critical. We talk about different people, sometimes with a smile on our face and sometimes in a jokey way. And we want to pass comment about this one and that one and what we think is wrong with, so and so. And yet the Bible says if we can just adopt a culture of honor, respect and encouragement, it's a game changer for our whole life.
I love that. And to last question then to finish this off, I think, that there is no shame ever in, when you identify where you are in life, if you're doing some things wrong or you're like, you know what, on reflection, but it's having that reflection. It's being able to identify where you're currently at, what your character is like. That's the most important thing. I think if you can do that, you're going to win in life because you can always identify where you're at. So just to finish it, how can the girls listening better identify, are they currently living in that place of giving honor, or actually have they got maybe more of a spirit of dishonor right now? How do they identify what camp they're currently in?
Well, naturally, you think of dishonor in the same way you think of disrespect. And you think it's when you're being critical or talking ill or making fun or just talking, like we said earlier, out of term about someone in the context of their surrounding. If I'm going to step onto a platform and I'm going to lead and teach people, I don't need a team around me that are bantering or disrespecting or making jokes about, a flaw or a failing in my life. I need a team around me who are going to be energizing and edifying and encouraging for what I'm about to step into. So we often think about dishonor as disrespect, and that is true. But the best way to identify whether you are honoring or dishonoring person is listening to what you actually do or do not say, because actually your silence is as dishonoring as speaking negatively. That means that we can have a good thought about somebody, but if we do not voice it, we've done them a disservice. We've dishonored them because we haven't audibly let them know the good that we thought. And that good that we thought might be, what that person said the other day really helped me. I'm going to send them a message and I'm going to honor them. But if you only ever think, she really helped me by saying that, but you never act on it, then that's dishonoring because you've done that person a disservice because they don't know your thoughts. And so our silence, speaks as loud as our criticism or our negativity. And so that's why we have to be proactive and diligently decide and choose. I'm going to say, we often think things like, as girls, we'll think things like, she looks really good today. She looks really pretty today. I love that outfit on her today. How many times do we think it? But we never go up to that person and say, can I just say, you look really good today?
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, it does something in you, but it also, you'll see their shoulders go back and their head, and go up and they'll stand tall. All of a sudden they've had, self-doubts or they're really low self-esteem, but you just say something kind and positive and you see it on change. I was thinking church on a Sunday and we can't possibly, Luke and I as two people can't possibly get around the volume of volunteers that serve in this church. But I can't begin to tell you how thankful I am. And so when I can and where I remember, I do. Mm-hmm. I'll go to the band or those that are serving in the foyer or wherever we can and just say, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the part that you play. It's so important that we don't just... I could just go home and have a conversation with Luke and go, oh, Megan brought a great word in the foyer this morning in our team huddle, or didn't so-and-so lead that song well on the platform, and I can have these conversations in the comfort of my own home. But if the person I'm talking about doesn't know how highly I'm speaking about them and how much I respect the role that they've played, then I am dishonoring to them. So it's really important. I have people in my world, and a couple of people I can think of in particular. One person, she writes to me constantly, the good old-fashioned way. I get text messages, especially when you've preached. But this one person, I'll find notes shoved under my office door. Yeah. They'll land in my letterbox regularly. Yeah. And good old-fashioned handwriting in a card, just thanking me. What you spoke this week really helped me, really encouraged me, really. And I can pretty much guarantee every couple of weeks, one of these letters is going to arrive. And do you know what? I never roll my eyes and think, oh, here we go again. I always feel so elated. Yeah, I don't need that. No. But you know what? What she's doing is she's honouring me, and it re-energises me and makes me feel great. That was a good message. We go again.
Yeah, I love that. And I think to summarise what you said then, and we say this in church, but do for one which you wish you could do for all.
Great.
Don't let that put you off. You want to do it for everyone, just do it for the one.
So true.
But I love this conversation. Yes. And girls, as we finish this conversation, I want to challenge you from this conversation. Who could you honour right now? Get your phones, text someone, honour someone, and make it a daily discipline. Maybe every morning you get up, when you do your devotional, send one person a message. Do for one what you wish you could do for all. But hey, we have a conference coming up, and we want to let you know that the early bird rate ends on the 29th of December. So get your ticket, because the price goes up in January and you don't want to be the one paying the full price when you could have got an early bird rate. So get your tickets for conference for next year in May, and we are so excited to see you there. But in the meantime, take care and we'll see you soon.